One minute warning, folks.
When I was a kid. Oh my God.
Okay, it is 6:00. We are going to call this meeting to order. First, we'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. In particular, we recognize the enduring presence and stewardship of the Indigenous people and honor their connection to the lands and waters within Central Frontenac. Now I'd like everyone to stand for the national anthem. Now, please be sure that your cell phones are off or on vibrate or whatever they do other than ring. Okay, our first item is moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that the agenda for the regular meeting of council to be held July the 14th, 2026 be approved as amended to include an additional closed session item under section 239(2)H of the Municipal Act, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory or a crown agency of any of them. Discussion, all those in favor? Carried. Any disclosure pecuniary interest and general nature thereof by any member of council? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I declare potential deemed direct or indirect pecuniary interest on council agenda dated today, item 12K, the Godfrey Salt Dome, as my home is located in the vicinity of that garage.
Okay, I'm not so sure you need to, but it's your choice. Okay, thank you. Okay, no one else? Give that to Kathy. All right, approve of the minutes. Moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that the minutes from the regular meeting of council held on June 23rd, 2026 be approved as presented. Are there any amendments? Questions, comments?
No, there's no amendments,
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Mayor's remarks is the next thing. I was looking for it. Just a couple of things. We had a fantastic Canada Day, even though the storms drove everyone away just before the really good part started. But the best part was, I'm sure, my opening and the stuff that we did, right? That was the important part. The big thing is the kids fishing derby. It was the first year, and Phil is going to fill us in on that. There was how many kids?
We had 24 register, 3 showed up the day of, and 14 of them weighed fish in. So all in all, a success for the first year and lots of happy kids with prizes.
Excellent. Excellent. Good. And the farmer's market is doing well, even though it's so hot, and the beach is okay, even though all the geese are in and out of there. We do have our issues. I just want to mention that I won't be at the August and probably September meeting because I am going in for surgery, but I will still be answering emails, but I certainly won't be at meetings, but Cindy will be taking my place as the deputy mayor. I'm hoping to be back for at least an October meeting, maybe September. We'll see. But Anyway, I'll have a break, but I'll still have my phone and we'll be answering emails. So I'm not totally out of it or away from it, just a little bit. Anyway, anyone else have anything to add? Oh, I do. This is a very important one. AMCTO, which is the municipal degree, Ontario Municipal Association. Our Jody has just completed Municipal Administration Unit 4, Management in the Municipality, Spring 2026, with a final grade of 95.50. Congratulations. We'll give that back to Jody. Thank you. All right. Now we are at delegations, and we have with us tonight Justin Bromberg, from Chief Executive Officer of FMSC, which is the Frontenac Municipal Service Corporation. And Justin is going to give us an update and report. The floor is yours, Justin. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Smith, and good evening, and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update to you tonight on Frontenac Municipal Services. As Mayor Smith mentioned, I am Justin Bromberg, CEO of FMSC, or otherwise Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation, which is the publicly owned municipal services corporation responsible for the planning, management, and future operation of communal water and wastewater systems across Frontenac County. Central Frontenac, of course, along with the other 3 townships and the county, are shareholders of this corporation. I'd like to briefly introduce FMS for anyone who may be less familiar or who would like a refresher on what we do and as an organization. We did present to your council last March, and our presentation at that time focused largely on who we are, why we were created, and opportunities that communal servicing may create for rural communities. Tonight and this year in general, we're in the process of shifting gears, and I'd like to provide you this evening with a more concrete update on the work completed over the last 12 months, where we're focusing our current efforts and where we see opportunities moving forward. We'll also spend a few minutes discussing the Charlotte Lake former school site redevelopment and the role that FMS is playing in supporting the communal servicing aspects of that project. So I'll provide a brief overview of the progress that FMS has made over the past year, some of our current technical and governance work, provincial engagement and advocacy efforts, some of the partnership and outreach activities that we've undertaken, and finally, some opportunities that may be relevant to Central Frontenac and where we see FMS heading next. Of course, there is a lot happening, and while much of this work occurs behind the scenes, we do think it's important to demonstrate how the organization continues to mature and position itself for long-term success. Over the past year, FMS has continued transitioning from organizational setup into implementation readiness. We've advanced governance work through utility bylaws and with the help of our technical support committee. We've continued developing technical guidance, life cycle planning, developer design guidelines, financial modeling, risk management tools, all of these things that will help support future communal systems. We've also expanded our engagement with the province of Ontario and to some extent the federal government as well, strengthened partnerships with industry, increased awareness of communal servicing through conferences, presentations, and stakeholder outreach. Collectively, this work is helping establish the long-term framework needed before communal systems move from concept to implementation. Specifically, I did want to spend some time this evening speaking about provincial engagement. This is a large focus of our work. It is worth mentioning, and for those that are and are less familiar with FMS, what Frontenac has done and all of its townships combined as the shareholders of FMSC is quite unique and innovative, to say the least. I would even go as far as to say that FMS is a pioneer in its field. Both with respect to implementing and exploring the use of communal systems to bring water and wastewater services to rural communities, but also in terms of creating and implementing a municipal services corporation for a rural municipality. We have become in many respects the model for the province of Ontario to look at when it comes to rural municipalities. We know that the province of Ontario is exploring currently and asking for municipalities to express interest in creating municipal service corporations, specifically for water and wastewater services. And it is worth noting that FMS, although it's only been incorporated for coming on 3 years, the discussions and the efforts involved have spanned over a decade. So very much important to highlight the great work and all the collaboration that's occurred across Frontenac County and its 4 townships. And it deserves the recognition, and I'm pleased to say that the province has more and more, and certainly as of late, recognized that. Whereas the discussions with the province initially were more about educating them and informing them of our request for support, we've seen as of late that both the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks are turning towards us and asking us for our input and lessons learned, and as they look to implement these both MSCs and communal systems across the rest of rural Ontario. So we have maintained these ongoing discussions with both ministries regarding communal servicing and the role that it can play in supporting housing in rural communities. One factor that's been quite a game changer, if I may use that expression, is that the province recently put forward and passed Bill 98, which specifically made reference to both communal systems and municipal service corporations as housing enabling elements specifically for rural communities. And so this lent itself in large part to a lot of the awareness and interest in what Frontenac has been doing. There's also been some discussions surrounding the modernization of environmental approval processes and that's new streamlined environmental assessment, the MPAP process. So what we are seeing overall is growing recognition that rural Ontario does need additional servicing options to support housing while maintaining strong environmental protections. And we are going to continue participating in those conversations and sharing the experience that we've gained here in Frontenac County. On the subject of building awareness and relationships, this has been another major focus over the past 12 to 15 months. We've completed our communications and advocacy plan. We've launched the FMS website during this time and expanded our engagement with municipalities, developers, industry organizations, and provincial partners. We've presented at a few provincial conferences and seminars upon request, participated in additional housing discussions, and continued liaising and working with home builder associations across Eastern Ontario, many of whom are, again, like the province, gaining an interest and starting to become more and more curious about what Frontenac Municipal Services has been up to. These activities are all helping to position Frontenac and its townships as leaders in communal servicing while creating opportunities to share lessons learned and attract future partnerships. Building these relationships, of course, is essential because successful communal servicing depends on collaboration between municipalities, regulators, operators, consultants, and developers. I'd like to also spend a few moments talking about the Charlotte Lake School site, similar to the Verona project, which is going to be in South Frontenac, of course, the first project that FMS will support on the servicing side. The Charlotte Lake School site represents an incredible opportunity to apply the FMS model. This project demonstrates how communal servicing can support broader community building objectives, not just housing, but the revitalization of an important community asset. The vision being explored by Central Frontenac is about much more than housing. The concept includes the redevelopment of the former school into a mixed-use community hub with new residential units alongside a potential library and community space on the ground floor. FMS has been supporting discussions around the communal servicing component of the project, providing expertise and insights related to servicing, governance, and long-term operations as planning continues. One of the exciting opportunities also being explored is the potential for a communal system that would not only serve the development itself, but also create opportunities to connect nearby facilities and existing residences over time wherever appropriate. While those discussions are very much still in the early stages, this demonstrates how communal infrastructure can support broader community revitalization and not just one single development. We see this project as yet another example of municipalities planning for the future by integrating housing, community amenities, and sustainable infrastructure. As this project continues to evolve, FMS looks forward to continuing to support Central Frontenac and all of its partners in bringing that vision to life. So looking ahead, the Charlotte Lake redevelopment does remain a key priority for FMS as planning work continues. It's worth noting that the project, again, although it's in its early stages, does factor into many of our discussions with the province of Ontario and the federal government. It's given its location and the viability of and the needs within this community, it really is a great example of what communal servicing can do for a community. And we have highlighted the nature of these projects. One thing that we've stressed in all of our conversations is that Frontenac Municipal Services and its townships as shareholders are not looking to bring excessive amounts or large scale development to its communities, but rather respect the integral, the viability and the current harmony and character of its communities. So we're not looking to build large scale projects, but this Charbot Lake and the project that the township is currently exploring represents exactly this type of small scale harmonious development that we're looking to encourage and support across the county. So, of course, while the project is at an earlier stage, it does represent a very important opportunity to apply that communal servicing model in support of housing and community development. And we'll continue advancing the governance, operational, and financial frameworks that all future communal systems must rely upon. We'll also continue engaging with provincial ministries and industry partners as conversations around servicing continue to evolve. Verona will, of course, remain an important milestone for the organization, which will provide valuable operational experience that can help inform projects such as the one in Charbot Lake. We'll continue supporting municipalities and proponents through early servicing discussions, ensuring communal servicing is considered wherever appropriate and where it can unlock sustainable rural growth. So I also want to personally thank you for your continued support of Frontenac Municipal Services. We do appreciate Central Frontenac's ongoing participation as a shareholder and look forward to continuing to work closely with you as opportunities continue to emerge. I will be happy to take any questions or comments this evening.
Okay, thank you, Justin. I'm sure there will be some. Bill, I saw you writing notes.
Mayor, too,
Justin, have you had an opportunity or will you have an opportunity to make this presentation to the Charbot Lake Property Owners Association? Because, which is coming up on the 25th of July, which is a Saturday, and it happens here in the village at the Oso Hall. At least I believe that's where we. Oh, mine's not working? At any rate, if you have an opportunity, because as a candidate, I like to go to those things, and I'm sure this is going to be a question that come up, and I wouldn't be as well versed in explaining to people how this works, and I think it's important for the people of the Charbot Lake Village and the Lake Association to buy into this project. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I think instead of Justin going, who is just going on vacation, there's probably handouts that we could ensure that are there to pique their interest and have them send us an email with any questions, and we can do it that way. They already have their agenda set, I'm sure. So I think maybe if we can, that's this weekend, isn't it? No. 25th. So a couple of weeks. So we have time. We could maybe even pick up some stuff tomorrow when we're at county, Nikki and I.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I think in generally speaking, of course, we are pleased to do as many presentations and outreach activities as we can. It is a core part of our mandate. As it pertains, I mean, perhaps we can continue the discussion after the meeting, but I'd certainly be happy to look at any opportunities, whether it be July 25th or perhaps a meeting afterwards to come out and meet with the association members and explain the project. I do believe, I'm trying to think, it would have been perhaps around last spring, April or May, there was a public meeting held at, I think it was at Oso Hall.
Yes.
And we had representatives from Newterra and from the county planning department that also spoke about the project. And we could perhaps organize another larger type of public information session, again, if that would be amenable. I'd certainly, speaking for myself, no, I'd feel more comfortable having the support of the planning department and some of the representatives of these systems, because they can certainly answer a lot more of the technical questions around the communal services. But we'd be happy to certainly look into that and organize something for you.
And as things move forward, we will be having public information sessions as well. So, okay. So we will get some stuff to have for this one and see what comes down the road. Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In terms of another meeting, I think that would be the opportunity to invite not just the Charlotte Lake Property Owners Association, but any of the lake associations, because obviously water quality is near and dear to their hearts. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
thank you.
Terrific. Okay, anyone else? I want to thank you for all the work you've been doing. I've been on this committee board since it started. I didn't realize it was 3 years. Time flies. But there is so much knowledge with the tech committee. They have really been able to educate the board members very well. And we can't speak like Justin can to the specifics, but it's amazing what can happen with these systems. Can change definitely our villages. So thank you very much, Justin. And I have a motion that is moved by Bill Everett and seconded by Philip Smith that council receive the 2026 annual update from Justin Bromberg, Chief Executive Officer of the Frontenac Municipal Service Corporation for information. All those in favor? Carried. And thank you very much. Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. And it's just a brief one, but we figured we'll get some reprieve from this heat and
Yes.
spend some time around the county.
There you go. Spend your money.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I want to thank you all again for the time this evening, and my contact information is available. It should be on our website, and if not, I know that your CAO and mayor have it available. And
Yes.
as I mentioned, we'd be happy to organize additional presentations in the future.
Thank you. I don't know.
It's just, I think you've got it.
We
Yeah,
can
you
get one.
print it off.
We don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there's no public meeting. Consent agenda moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council receive item A for information as it's considered routine. Any discussions? All those in favor? Carried. No deferred items, so we're at staff reports. And first is the building activity. And since we don't have a building inspector here, we're going to deal with the report that we had in our package. So moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council receive the construction detail report, June 2026 for information. Discussion. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just was wondering if there was a problem with the creation of the report, because the construction value from June to June is the
0.3.
same. And our permits, we're making a lot of money. Like,
Yeah.
we
I was going to bring that up. 0.330 instead of 33 cents.
yeah, and 1.5 million in permits this year when we only made 122,000 at this time last year.
Yeah, that it needs to be corrected for sure.
Okay.
Anything else? All those in favor? Carried. We'll get the corrected addition for next meeting. All right, Central Fire and Rescue, moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the Central Frontenac Fire Rescue Activity Report dated July the 14th, 2026, as prepared by the Fire Services Department for information. And Chris is with us. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions for Chris? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had reached out to Kathy and the chief yesterday about cooling centers, and Kathy had recommended I bring my question here tonight. So my question was about promoting the libraries. Our libraries are our community partners, and we provide the space to them, and they're open certain hours during the week. And I just was wondering if we could promote them to say that they are, in the summer when there's heat, that they are a spot that people can go and cool down, and in the winter if they need to be warm. We could just promote the hours that the library is open and where the locations are, and people could pop in there and use them as a center. So it wouldn't cost us anything extra, was my question, only promoting them to let people know that those areas are available.
Should we check with the library first?
I think, Madam Mayor and to Councillor Galloway, we should have a memo of understanding with the county if we're going to use the facilities for that. And then we have to look at staffing
Well, they're already staffed by a staff member of the library.
every
So
day.
I'm only suggesting we promote when the libraries are open.
Okay.
And that they could be a cooling center when they're open. That's what the
Okay.
city of Kingston does. They promote them as a cooling center when the library is open and being staffed.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be
Our
anything.
library is not really big.
No, and Laura is aware, Laura Carter,
Yes.
and she might be
Oh,
watching
good.
tonight. She is aware. I
Good,
included her in this, and she said that she has no problem to work and
Oh.
good.
do that as well.
So we could just add that to the website, that the library might be a good spot to go visit.
During their opening hours?
Yeah,
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, it was nothing about additional staffing or anything
Okay.
like that because we already pay the bills of the
Mhm.
halls, and it was
Yeah.
their staff was going to be there. And in a way, it's a great combination with the library. If you're there, you might take out a book, you might
Yeah.
use their computer, you might
True.
learn that you can
Yeah.
rent or borrow Wi-Fi. Like
Sure.
they offer many services, but
Yeah.
they also offer a cool spot to be, to cool down or to warm up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
good.
Along the same vein of that, I think that maybe in the next term, we could look at making some revisions about offering it in some of the halls as well, and how we could facilitate something like that to some degree. As the libraries in the three smaller districts here are not open for that very many hours. I mean, in the case of Arden, it's 2 hours on a Tuesday, 2 hours on a Thursday, and a couple hours on a Saturday. And the hall could be sitting there empty in that time. So just as a consideration moving forward, even if we could make arrangements with some volunteer groups to help with the staffing, that a warm or cool place to be would be highly appreciated. So something to consider for the future.
And we are going to have these kind of temperatures, I think, going forward. I think the one thing that comes to my mind is if a volunteer is there and something were to happen to someone, what our liability would be. So we'd need to check on that first, especially for halls. Yeah, that it's older people and hot weather doesn't mix really well. Lynn and then Susan?
I was just going to add that people like that are on the rec committees already, in many cases, have a little bit of knowledge about how to manage, like if somebody was to have
Like CPR?
CPR. I know in my rec committee, we've had some informal training on CPR and AED use. So we do have a little bit of knowledge in that. It's something to consider with all of the rec committees to get more of that type of thing and could be engaged in that.
Chris, what do you think of that?
I see there's some potential here. I think the education piece is the big component for us. Certainly if we want to start opening up some of the centers in the rural areas, I've been talking to some people in South Frontenac. They are tossing this around as well. They want to talk to me tomorrow. But it's resources that are going to be a challenge for us for sure. And I mean, just today we had I did some research yesterday, and the federal government's got a good health checklist for high temperatures. And Chris was good enough to put it on our website, so it's right on the front page. So if we can try and promote it that way, I think is a good start to it. Certainly, we can look at something over the winter months to see. But then we'll be talking about warming stations. So so I'm at your mercy of whatever you want to do. It's going to take some resources, so that's the thing we're going to look at. So, but some good suggestions around the table, though, for sure.
And that might be something too, that with the, the control group can certainly look at that at some point when
Mhm.
we do our updates all the time, right?
Yep.
The different, what's the most risks, like we always go through our
Your-
risk assessments.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
Mhm.
your biggest piece will be is to probably look at emergency power, because whenever these events happen, we get into a situation, it's usually when there's no power, right? So,
Which we've had in Arden not that long ago, right?
yeah, we had a generator down there though.
Yeah.
So it didn't come out till later on, but that's okay.
We got it there.
It was there the first day that the power went out down there. So we could look at that for maybe the community halls, and we could get some pricing on that for council to look at for budget if they want.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anything else? Chris, do you have any? Oh, Susan, go ahead.
So I was going to have a chance, but as usual, Chris has already thought of all the things that I was going to raise. So I was going to mention power outage, education. So well done.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you.
So our report's good too, right?
Your report's good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No questions on it anyway. Thanks, Chris. Stay cool. Okay, now we have Michael. So we have a motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Lynn Clakus, that council received the accounts payable report, check distribution in the amount of $2,223,397.20 as prepared by the manager of financial services for information. Discussion. I have to tell you, I made a comment to a colleague this week. Said, we always used to talk about hundreds of dollars of this and, hundreds, thousands of dollars. And now every time we turn around, it's $1 million, 2 million, 5, 6, like, whew, things have gone up. Anyway, all those in favor of this motion, carried. Yes, for sure. All right, financial services, moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith. The Council for the Township of Central Frontenac approved the following reduction changes of assessment pursuant to the Municipal Act. Rule number 1039-080-020 13600 for the period of December 16th, 26 to December 31st, 2026, as reported by impact. Reason damaged and sustainably unusable, 357-1 DII, demolition or otherwise. And roll number 1039-080-030-12052 for the period of October 21 to December 31st, 2024, as reported by impact. Demolition raised by fire or otherwise to correct factual error, 357-1 DI. And further, the council approves an adjustment of taxes to be calculated by the tax department for the related period. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Councillor McDonald has a point.
Go ahead.
Is it on now? Through you, Madam Mayor, Michael, how does this action affect the financial position of our municipality in regard to the monies that we've paid to the county and to the education in regards to how's that worked out? Thank you, Madam.
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor McDonald and the rest of council, obviously we bill the taxes to the taxpayers throughout the year. We make the payments to the school board and the county. When we have a write-off like this or the supplementals, that gets reconciled each year, and 9 times out of 10, we end up owing the county.
So it comes off, right?
Comes off if appropriately written off or added to owing to the county if it's a supplemental.
Right. Okay. Now we have moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council receives the report from the manager of financial services entitled Draft Debt Policy, and that council reviews the draft policy and provides any comments or suggested revisions by July the 24th, 2026. And further, that council directs the manager of financial services incorporate council's feedback and present the final debt policy for approval at a future council meeting to be determined. Questions, comments? So that's work to be done. Michael?
If I may, Madam Mayor, there's a lot of things I'd like in this policy, and obviously I wrote it, so I like it. But it does prioritize internal borrowing. So we're borrowing from ourselves and paying that department back versus external, which there's a case for that as well. It gives us the guidelines ahead of time versus impromptly, solving it with a loan, right? There's guidelines in here about not using it for an asset that's under 10 years old. So we're, long-term planning is a focus here, and it ties in with our strategic plan. So
Good planning. Okay, so if we have any comments, July 24th is the deadline. All those in favor? Carried. All right, moved by Lynn Clakus, seconded by Philip Smith. Whereas recent municipal infrastructure funding programs by the Government of Canada and the Province of Ontario have tended to prioritize growth-related or housing-enabling infrastructure projects over infrastructure renewal needs. And whereas the Government of Ontario has regulated municipal infrastructure asset management through OREG 588-17, asset managed planning for municipal infrastructure under the Infrastructure for Jobs and Prosperity Act 2015. And whereas municipal asset management plans and the Financial Accountability Office of Ontario have identified that municipalities have significant state of good repair backlogs and renewal needs for infrastructure. And whereas the Government of Ontario doubled the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, called OSIF, from 200 million per year to 400 million per year for 2021 to 2026, but has not publicly committed to maintaining this level of funding beyond 2026. And whereas the OCIF has become a vital and indispensable resource for municipalities, assisting them with improving their asset management programs and meeting community preserving infrastructure renewal needs. And whereas increased geopolitical uncertainty is threatening the economic prosperities of Canada, Ontario, and every municipality. And whereas municipal infrastructure is a key enabler and preserver of economic prosperity. And whereas the Municipal Finance Officers Association of Ontario has heard from its members that their municipalities' concerns regarding the potential erosion of existing municipal infrastructure and thus service levels in light of the ongoing focus on housing enabling infrastructure by grant funding programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Central Frontenac supports MFOA's letter to the Ministry of Infrastructure requesting that the doubling of the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund be made permanent in advance of the allocations for the 2027 calendar year, helping municipalities to continue building housing enabling infrastructure while preserving the economic value provided by existing infrastructure. And that this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Todd McCarty, the Honorable Rob Flack, and the Honorable Peter Bethlen Falvey. Okay. Discussion. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is great, and I think it's a great initiative to send the letters. I just like to see it also go to the Premier, Doug Ford, and go to all municipalities in Ontario so that everybody can start putting the pressure there so this funding can stay.
Think we can do that just by staff.
Provincial representative.
Yes. Yeah, all of them. Good. All right. All those in favor? Carried. It was a bit of a long motion, but it's a lot of money. So it was worth it.
Well worth it. Thank you, Madam Mayor and
Yes.
Council.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. All right. Moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Bill McDonald. The council received the report prepared by the planning coordinator regarding a proposed refreshment sales vehicle at Railway Heritage Park for information, and that council provide direction to staff regarding the preferred process for consideration of a refreshment sales vehicle at Railway Heritage Park, including any direction respecting vendor selection, planning approvals, and any required agreements. Discussion. No discussion. Nikki and then Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I think that refreshment vehicles are great. I'm not really sure that we haven't put signage up to encourage people to go to the businesses already here. We do have many places that you can get food, and we discussed it at the last meeting, but there is no signage encouraging that. Also have heard the concerns of people who have attempted to put a refreshment vehicle in the township, and that there was a lot of paperwork and inspections and stuff to go through. And by just putting one there, they said it would took over a year, almost 2 years for some of them to get approved to have refreshment vehicles in the township. And trying to get one here from this report, I think it's wanting to be done now and sooner rather than later. So if I could have some clarity maybe on that, because they still need to go through that whole process that anybody else needs to go through. Also, I think that it's great that somebody has come forward and would like to put one there, but I think that an opportunity should be put out to everybody to have a chance apply or to put a refreshment vehicle there, because I think there could be other interest out there that people just haven't thought that they were allowed to, or thought that they could approach the township.
And you want to be fair with it.
Exactly.
Okay. And Bill,
And thank you, Madam Mayor. My first question was, do we have a refreshment vehicle bylaw?
No,
no.
no,
Then
we don't.
we're putting the horse before the cart.
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, we do not. To provide perhaps a little bit more context here, related to Nikki's first question about the timelines associated with establishing a refreshment sales vehicle or a chip truck. I think the reason that that is happening is because the township does not have a clear process for staff to follow. So we are using the planning tools that can make those happen, but there's not a standardized policy that says, okay, if you get this request, you shall do A, B, and C. So it takes a little bit longer to have the discussions with other staff to figure out how to make that happen. I think the intention was at one point that that process would be established through a licensing program for refreshment sales vehicles, but that didn't proceed at the time it was discussed before my employment with the township. So I think one, a clear policy or framework for what the township would expect for recreational or refreshment sales vehicles would be incredibly important for the timeline. And it would be, I think, helpful for one, staff to understand what council wishes. And then lastly, to the applicant or the resident or person who wants to have that.
Okay, Lynn?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think when you put your report together, you gave two different options. And the second one more or less backs up what you've just been saying about coming up with a process and a fair way of doing it that others could also participate in as well. It's probably the preferred process that we should be going with right now. And it might take a little bit longer, but at least it'll set something up for the future for anybody that is considering this. Here's the steps that you need to go through to make this happen. So I would be definitely in favor of the second option.
Is there also a question about zoning? An official plan?
Not necessarily the official plan, but the issue right now is that the Railway Heritage Park is zoned open space, which is typical of parks, but it does not support a permitted use of a recreation or refreshment sales vehicle or chip truck. So therefore, in order to permit that use on any property, it would need to be rezoned to support that. But my thought was if council's wishes to go with an expression of interest or similar process, it would be unfair to expect an applicant to go through the process of rezoning for that particular property. So in other municipalities, what often happens is an area of land that the council wishes to be designated for that purpose gets rezoned by the municipality first, so that when the expression of interest goes out to prospective vendors, that land is already prepared for that purpose.
So that is something that we could do over the winter along with the policies and the bylaw preparing for next year. I don't think it's going to help this year. I also think one of the other things that can hold up a chip truck is public health. They have a lot of rules they have to go through to be safe. Bill? And then
Thanks,
Dan?
Madam Mayor. I was just going to say, there's TSSA, there's ESA, there's KFLA, there's MTO, and there's the MLEO that all have to participate in these.
There won't be MTO there.
It's a vehicle. It's MTO.
Oh, that part, yeah. Dan?
I was just going to say that, in my opinion, we should support the people here that are paying taxes, and there's more than ample businesses in the area that people could walk to in a short drive to get something to eat. And I think
Smart.
we should also, promote those people that are paying the taxes.
Yes. Okay. So what this motion says is that if there's any direction to work on this further. So to direct staff regarding the preferred process for consideration of the vehicle. The Railway Heritage Park folks want this to happen as well.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I received a letter of support from the Railway Heritage Society as well as the Economic Development Committee, which we heard at the June 23rd meeting.
Okay. All right. What do we want to do with this? If we accept it, then staff are going to go ahead and do some work on putting it together. And it doesn't hurt to have that in place, whether you do it next year or the next council decides not to do it. They'll have the information to make a decision. Philip.
So I'd assume if we're going to give direction that it would be across the municipality, not just the railway park and the beach. We'd be looking for a bylaw and policy on refreshment vehicles in general.
The policy would be general, and then the areas would still need to be looking at zoning, right?
But overall, we need to start with.
But the policy would be for the
Right.
whole municipality, yes. Yes. Okay. Oh, sorry, Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just had one thought. Can we not just change parking bylaws? I mean, could we not change one parking spot by the Railroad Museum and designate it as a refreshment vehicle stand? Then we don't have to change zoning.
And people stand on the highway to get their chips.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the parking lots are still zoned, I believe, open space as well, or similar. So it would still be the same process as it, just a different location.
Whether it's on the grass or not. Okay. Oh, sorry, Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, I just want to thank Abby for your work in putting this together. I found it very readable and the process was laid out clearly. So well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Now we are looking at removing a holding symbol. This is moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Dan Meeks. The council receives the report regarding application number APPN 2026-00XX for the removal of the holding symbol affecting the property municipally known as 1063 Ash Grove Trail, Arden. And that council approves the application to remove the holding symbol from the subject lands, having determined that the conditions of the holding provision have been satisfied. And further, that the corresponding bylaw to remove the holding symbol be presented for 3 readings later in the meeting, in this meeting. Okay, Abby, and then.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to make a correction there, the application number is APPN 2025-0055 for Laro, L-A-R-O.
0055
and L-A-R-O. Laro. Thank you.
R-O. Okay, so I can amend this motion to get it correct.
Yes, you could.
Okay, all right. Okay, somebody had their hand up. Okay. All right. Since everybody's read this, all those in favor? Carried. That was an easy one. Now we have one moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Susan Irwin. The council received the final road allowance closure report respecting application APPN-2025-0043, Goodfellows for information. And further, that council approved the recommendation of the planning coordinator to permanently stop up, close, declare surplus, and convey the subject portion of the unopened road allowance located between concession 1 and 2, geographic township of Hinchinbrook, now township of Central Frontenac, being part of PIN 36158-0482, as shown on registered plan 13R23548. And further, that council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute any agreements, transfers, or other documents necessary to facilitate the convenience of the subject lands. And further, that all costs associated with the registration of the bylaw, transfer documents, legal fees, surveying fees, appraisal costs, and any other administrative costs be the responsibility of the applicant. And further, that council consider passing the accompanying bylaw later in the meeting to permanently stop up, close, declare surplus, and convey the subject lands. Everybody knows the one we're talking about. We've talked about a couple of times. Yes. All those in favor? Carried. There we go. Public Works. Okay, we have a motion moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. The council received the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Technical Assistant for information. Welcome, you two, at the end of the table. Questions or comments? Nikki, and then Dan.
Thank you, and thank you for your report. My question isn't pertaining to your report, but I don't know where else to ask it. So if it's wrong, let me know. We've had a couple of projects come in under budget. We had a discussion at the last council meeting about Wagner Road. What are the chances with some of this extra money, we could do some repair, do more than just pulverize it, that we could do some tar and chip on that road?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I did some rough numbers for from the contractor that give us a price on Mountain Grove Road, and I think if we go where we were going to go on Mountain Grove Road, do the Brock Road up past the tracks where it's the worst, we still should be under, I'm hoping, by 120,000. If we redo Wagner, pulverize, gravel, and a new double surface treatment, it'll be about 165-ish. So you're going to be 50,000 we'd need to get out of reserves if you wanted to redo Wagner Road, do Mountain Grove, and do Brock Road.
Go ahead.
We do have another project that's coming in under budget further in the agenda. Could some of that be used towards Wagner, and then we wouldn't have to go back to the reserves because we've already budgeted more for that project?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the next project that's coming up that's under, I think we're going to be over a lot on the sand and salt this year. So I was kind of hoping that some of that would offset it. The only other thing that maybe we could do is, I know we want to do Eagle Lake Hill, but if we don't, that's $50,000 there. But I mean, I know you
If I could
that.
just jump in here, being the strong mayor power that worked so much on the budget, the one thing that comes to my mind that we cut that is going to come back to haunt us is the Henderson project. That was what, 600,000. This time we looked at it, it was over 800,000. And if we keep putting it off longer, it's going to be more than $1 million. So I think we need to see what we can do to make this road better. But I don't see that you should take all of your savings and put it there. That's going to be a big one that you're going to face, and you're going to face it next year. Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, and I appreciate your concern for Wagner Road, but before I would feel comfortable making a decision, I need to see the Public Works financial situation, taking into account the various projects, because we're talking one road here and one road there, but I need the big picture to make an informed decision. So
Yeah, I think that's very true. Bill?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Steve, I appreciate the work that you've actually done in regard to the financial situation, and I would be happy with seeing that particular road ground up and smoothed out, because it is in a terrible situation right now, and that it could be included in next year's budget to do the final parts of that. I'd be happy with it smoother for this year. So
Something that's gradable. Take out the potholes. Do you have your hand up, Dan? Okay.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wonder, Steve, when that, where the culvert repair, when could we get a hard top on that? Or is it too early yet, or is it pounded down enough that we could smooth that over?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that they're gonna do it tomorrow, I think, because the
Oh, yeah, they're great.
tomorrow or Thursday, just waiting for this heat wave to get over, and then they're gonna do that. Yeah, and
Oh.
then hopefully next week they'll do the Oak Flat ones.
Oh, one more.
Yep.
And when will the Long Lake Road be started, do you think?
I get a meeting set up later this week to talk to the contractor to go over some things and when he's gonna start and
Okay.
signage up and yep.
Can they work on these projects in this heat? Like it, I sure
Are you
wouldn't want to
Madam
be
Mayor?
looking at asphalt in this heat.
No, but yeah, they can work. Yeah, they can work. Today it was very hot today and the smoke, a lot of them did some shop maintenance after lunch because it was so hot and smoky and not good. So
Otherwise, they'd be carrying them all to the hospital. Okay, nothing else? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. I said carried just as you coughed.
Yes.
Okay, that was carried. All right, we have motion moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Philip Smith. That council received the PW 2026-11 Godfrey Sand Dome Replacement Tender Recommendation. The tender was released on June the 5th, 2026 and closed on June 23rd, 2026. And that 3 bids were received. The Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and has evaluated according to the criteria lined out in the tender, including the new Buy Ontario requirements, and is recommending Cranes Construction as the successful bidder. Now therefore be it resolved that council award Cranes Construction as the successful bidder in the amount of $727,760, excluding HST, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for work, and further that the Mayor and CEO Clerk be authorized to sign the contract documents. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. And it will be done by November 1st at the latest. Good. All right. Good. Now, Public Works still moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Bill Everett. The council received the Charlotte Lake Revitalization Project, Matthew and Garrett Street Extensions Tender Recommendation. The tender was released on the 9th and closed on the 30th of June, and that 1 bid was received. The Public Works Manager has reviewed the bid and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the tender, including the new Buy Ontario requirements, and is recommending Cranes Construction as the successful bidder. Now therefore be it resolved that council award Cranes Construction as the successful bidder in the amount of $453,480, excluding HST, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work, and further that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to sign the contract documents. Discussion. And once we get this done, we can take down the signs.
through you, Madam Mayor, yes, this is the last of the grant money. It has to be used up by October. So and I think this contractor has done all the rest of the work, so it'll work out pretty good.
He knows what he's doing. Susan.
Through Madam Mayor, and no objection to what you're recommending. Just remind me, because this has been going on for so long, what exactly would they be doing on Matthew Street?
Through you, Madam Mayor, they're going to extend the Matthew Street down past the new bathroom, pave all down in the parking lot. They're going to redefine that intersection. I know council wanted stop signs there, so they're going to make it more prominent, I guess you say. But so everybody will come to a stop. There'll be stop signs for everybody there because it's kind of confusing with the trail and Wing Crescent and Garrett Street or Matthew Street. So they're going to fix that up. They're going to pave the end of Garrett Street and put some like gutters in past the grocery store into the catch basin there where it should have been done before. There's some spots where we have to put some sod. There's a small retaining wall we have to fix, and yeah, we're gonna possibly pave a little bit down by the government dock. So
All those in favor? All those in favor? Carried. Sorry, my mic wasn't on. Had to do it twice. Okay, moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Susan Irwin. The council received the report regarding the delegation. Oh, I guess that's it for roads, is it?
That's it.
That's it for roads. Have a good evening. What's left of it? Okay, So moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council received the report regarding the delegation of authority during the restricted authority period of council for information. And that council adopt the bylaw to delegate limited administrative authority to the CAO clerk during any restricted authority period of council in accordance with section 275 of the Municipal Act 2001 later in the meeting. Questions, comments?
And I can certainly speak to this. There is no specific report. This is because we're in this situation that we may be in lame duck. Because if that happens, then it stops everything and things moving. So what the municipalities do is they do the bylaws to allow the work to continue so that the clerk, CAO clerks or clerks can continue. That's not saying that you won't be aware of what's happening and going forward, but it's just to keep the continuity of everything moving. So.
And we're doing this at county tomorrow as well. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council receive the revised draft noise bylaw to prohibit and regulate noise in the Township of Central Frontenac, and that council directs staff to submit the revised draft noise bylaw to the Township solicitor for legal review, and that the finalized bylaw be brought back to council for consideration and adoption. Discussion? Bill?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I read through it all, and I'm wondering if somewhere in that bylaw we should be including air brakes or engine brakes near the villages, because that wasn't mentioned anywhere in the verbiage.
Jake brakes, is that what they call them?
Jake
I see
brakes,
the
engine
signs.
brakes, whatever.
Yes, we do have it in start of the village on 38 coming
But
in.
it's not in the noise bylaw.
Not in the noise bylaw, no. So that would
Right.
have to be investigated for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those signs don't carry any authority unless they're included in the bylaws.
It's going to be pretty hard, though, for somebody to determine what the volume of that noise was as the truck is gone.
Mhm. But we can
I
certainly.
don't know.
But if somebody, sorry, Mayors, if we're going to enforce it, we have to have some kind of legislation to back it up by putting those signs up.
Mhm.
And somebody does get stopped, then they're going to say, "Oh, to hell with you. We got no legislation."
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't, yeah, that's true. They're just put up for just to
So
curve it, but they, yes, I know. I
So
hear
it-
them all the time.
it's in draft now, so we can add that to it.
We can
as
certainly
part of the
investigate
draft.
that as to what we
Okay.
can do.
All right.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Nicole's here, so if it's all right, I'd like to ask her. I'm still not, I was the one that asked about the audible sound at the point of reception and how it's, we don't use a measurement like a sound measurement. And I don't want to put anybody out in a position where they're making a judgment call and then they get flack over it. So my question to you, Nicole, if it's all right to ask you, is how in a situation would you, because somebody's opinion of what is loud noise compared to what somebody else's opinion is, could be two different things. So how do you make a judgment call at that, about that without putting yourself in a precarious spot?
Through you, Madam Mayor, something like that, audio, video would help. Or if I'm in the area, I can go when they make a complaint. So a lot of that is just noise, if you can hear it in your house. I've had people where they've called me and said, the music is so loud, come to my house. I've came to their house, sat in their living room, and I could hear the next door neighbor. That's too loud. So that's how I make the decision.
So, yeah, if they're complaining and you hear the volume when you show up, it needs to be spoken to. Okay. Lynn?
To follow up on what Nikki's saying, though, is if the noise happens and then it stops before you get there, how does a person or an individual know, okay, that was excessive? It's just their opinion?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's why I usually ask for audio, because if I can't be there, at least I have that to listen to. Because on a phone, even if, you're turning the volume up, you're not going to be able to hear through the walls the music. So if I can see that they're in their home and you can hear the music.
Okay. So there's ways. Okay. Jody? Can't see you back there.
Madam Mayor, through you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to mention that we did update we added in a definition for point of reception, which will help Nicole better enforce the bylaw, I believe, because it does state that she can be, if she's on another property and she hears the noise, that technically
Means it's too loud.
It's too loud. So it's not just in the home, it's also on the property, anywhere on the property. So we did add that for clarification, Councillor Gowdy.
So it's a judgment call, but you're doing that all the time. Okay, all right. So there's no way to make it easier. All right, all those in favor? Carried. Thanks, Nick. Okay. Whoop. Nope. All right. We're at nuisance beaver now. Moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Philip Smith. The council received the nuisance beaver management bylaw final review report for information, and that council accept the revisions made following legal review. And that council consider adopting the nuisance beaver management bylaw later in the meeting. And further, that council amend the administrative monetary penalty system bylaw to include the beaver management bylaw as a designated bylaw subject to administrative penalties. Discussion? We've had this one, kicking this one around for a while. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council received the July 2026 bylaw enforcement and education activity report as prepared by the bylaw enforcement officer for information. And Nikki is here if there's any questions. Everybody's had the report. All those in favor? Carried. There you go. Now you can have supper. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Philip Smith, that council received the staff report regarding the notice of motion respecting amendments to the township's community improvement plan, and that council directs staff to prepare a comprehensive report outlining the legislative requirements, financial implications, and implementation considerations associated with the community improvement plan amendment before council considers an amendment to the bylaw. So discussion on this one. This is a whole process that has to happen. Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, I certainly support being able to make an informed decision, which doesn't mean that I'm not in favor of a community improvement plan that could be accessible throughout the entire township. So, but that's down the road. So,
Right.
But right now I think we need that information.
And just, this is something that a consultant would need to do?
Last time it was Joe Gallivan. It was the planning, the county planning that did to do with the CIP, and money was put in by the county of Frontenac to be able to go ahead and start that program. But yes, that's where it was originated from, is with them, because they had all the planning and Joe had done all, and because you have to do a scope as to which areas you're going to look at.
Okay, so
Right.
so this really isn't tying the hands of the next council. It's simply starting the process to take information to that new council about the system. Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, just a point. The budget of the Economic Development Committee. I know that there were a lot of comments when in 2025 we provided some funding to Villages Beautiful for Charlotte Lake. We were implementing the revitalization plan. But this year, the funds were distributed through all the hamlets, and there were 5 of them, equal amounts. The composition of the committee, the objectives of the committee are to be inclusive for the township as a whole. Any project that we're looking at, we're now saying, okay, yes, there's a need here. Is there a need elsewhere? So while this is being investigated by the Joe Gallivan or whoever is going to be doing it, you know, projects can be brought forward. I know that Lynn was out working with Kennebec, trying with Olden to get input from businesses as to what they needed. And I have to say, in some areas, there was input and some there was none at all. But there is a process and to help support the entire township.
Which was not in place when this first one was done. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. No committee or other reports, communication for action. We are at bylaws. Motion moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Philip Smith, that bylaw 2026-32, being a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey part of a highway, APPN 2025-0043, be read a first, second, and third time and passed this 14th day of July, 2026. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Bill McDonald, that bylaw 2026-33, being a bylaw to remove a holding symbol at 1063 Ash Grove Trail, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 14th day of July, 2026. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith, that bylaw 2026-34, being a bylaw for the management of beavers and beaver dams, be read a first, second, and third time and passed this 14th day of July, 2026. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Bill Everett, that bylaw 2026-35, being a bylaw to designate bylaw 2026-35, a bylaw for the management of beavers and beaver dams, be read a first, second, and third time and passed this 14th day of June, 2026. July, sorry. So this is something else? Oh, this is for the amps. Sorry. I got it now. All right. All those in favor? I thought it was all together, but, and this is to appoint a chief building official, moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Susan Irwin. That bylaw 2026-36, being a bylaw to appoint the chief building official and manager of building services, be read a first, second, and third time and passed this 14th day of July, 2026. And that is H. Don Reed is our new building inspector. Discussion on the bylaw? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, notice of motion. The notice of motion will be read and requires a seconder before council may debate or consider it. If the motion does not receive a seconder, it will not proceed to discussion. The subject is community radio station for the Northern Frontenacs. And Councillor Bill Everett is bringing it forward. And we don't have a seconder yet. Seconded by Susan. Okay, this is a long one. Yeah, we do. Whereas the Township Central Frontenac Strategic Plan identifies the importance of strengthening community engagement, communication, volunteerism, economic development, and community well-being. Whereas the Township's organizational review identified opportunities to enhance resident communications, public engagement, volunteer coordination, and awareness of municipal initiatives and services. And whereas Frontenac County Strategic Plan, Charter for Economic Development, Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, Age-Friendly Community Action Plan, Emergency Response Plan, and Official Plan all identify communication, community connection, and emergency preparedness, service awareness, economic development, tourism promotion, and social inclusion as priorities for the future of the region. And whereas residents in the Northern Frontenacs increasingly rely upon a combination of local media, municipal communications, social media, and digital platforms to access information about community events, municipal initiatives, local businesses, volunteer opportunities, services, and emergency situations. And whereas local communities across Canada have successfully established community-owned and operated radio stations as tools to strengthen communication, civic engagement, emergency preparedness, cultural preservation, youth engagement, economic development, and community resilience. And whereas community radio stations provide opportunities for local residents, businesses, community organizations, municipalities, educational institutions, Indigenous communities, healthcare providers, and emergency services to share information, tell local stories, celebrate local achievements, and increase public awareness of community initiatives. And whereas there may be an opportunity to explore the feasibility of a community radio station serving the Northern Frontenacs, including the Township of Central Frontenac and North Frontenac, in partnership with Sharbot-Abachawan First Nation and other interested community stakeholders. And whereas no municipal financial commitment, staffing allocation, infrastructure investment, or operational obligation is being requested at this time. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council endorse the exploration of a community-owned and operated community radio station serving the Northern Frontenacs, and further that council support the initiation of community consultation and stakeholder engagement discussions with interested parties, including but not limited to North Frontenac, Sharbot-Abachawan First Nation, Frontenac County healthcare providers, educational institutions, community organizations, businesses, tourism operators, arts and cultural groups, emergency services, and residents. And further, that a report summarizing the findings of these exploratory discussions be brought back to council for further future consideration. So, don't ask me to read it again. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is an exciting endeavor. I don't know who's going to do the work from the report. So that's my one question. And my only comment is this to me seems more like it's potentially a nonprofit kind of operation that would look after something this other than a municipally driven and taxpayer-based proposition. But I'm happy that, you know, someone's willing to look into this and try to spearhead it and move it forward. I just don't know who that is.
Okay, Bill?
I think my questions were along the same lines, is that this sounds like it should be a private enterprise endeavor, but I would just wondering who's going to do the research on this. And the other thing, I think you will require a license from the CRTC to actually start this, but somebody must have done some investigation on the start. So those are my questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Bill, do you want to take those or just?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can have them up here.
Just a couple of things to start off. We have almost a dozen local residences, professional radio hosts, producers, broadcasters, legal. Sharbot-Abachawan is interested with their because of their Indigenous stories and languages. We are in communication with CRTC for licensing, the community, and I'll get these all mixed up, two different federal community radio interests, a couple of reasonably local radio station managers and producers who have already been in the business for years. But we have not yet got together to discuss what we need to do. So that's the next part of the plan.
So what exactly are you asking the township to do in this motion?
In the end, there's only one thing I want from this township.
Okay.
And that would be Bob Harvey's barbershop.
To use.
To use.
Okay.
Okay. And
so a place to put the radio station.
Right. And the idea, of course, is that the Heritage Museum or the Railroad Museum is across the road. It's only available in the summertime. In the wintertime, the municipal or the Public Works building or Bob Harvey shop can also hold the train museum stuff for winter viewing because the radio station won't require the whole. So basically all we're asking for the first bit would be a lack of expense in the use of the building. But to answer Philip's plan, it will be an ONCA or an Ontario not-for-profit corporation. Okay. So eventually it should get off the ground and be self-sufficient.
Okay, Bill and then Susan.
Madam Mayor, I think what we should do is just simply offer a motion of support at this point and let them carry on.
Yes, Susan.
And that's all this resolution asks for.
Mhm.
It says, now therefore be it resolved that council receive this report for information and that council endorse exploration of a community-led consultation process. So for once, there's no financial commitment on the part of the township. I mean, this is exciting.
Until they come back to the table, but that's okay.
But as Bill has stated, there are people who are interested. They're willing to put the time and effort into it.
Encourage it.
We don't have to. So let's go for it.
Yes, for sure. Okay. No further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. There you go. All right. Adjustment of speed limits on Arden Road. Councillor Cindy Kelsey moved this motion and we need a seconder. Nikki? Whereas the current speed limit through portions of Arden may not reflect the character, function, and operating conditions of the roadway, and whereas a posted speed limit that's consistent with driver expectations and roadway design can improve compliance and promote safer traffic operations, and whereas the current 40 km/h speed limit within the village core has been identified as being unnecessarily restrictive by residents and road users. And whereas establishing consistent and appropriate speed limits through Arden would provide greater clarity for motorists and support the efficient movement of traffic while maintaining public safety. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be advised to review and report back to council on amending the speed limits on the Arden Road as follows. From Price Road to Cox Road, increase the speed limit to 50 km/h. And from Cox Road to the municipal boundary, establish a speed limit of 60 km/h. Discussion. Lynn and then Bill.
I'd like to break it down into the two separate areas, and the speed limit of increasing from 40 to 50 through the town gives me great concern because it's always been at 40 for a long, long time in the main part of the town. And when we did the resurfacing of the road 3 years ago, we took the sidewalks out. And so for the safety of people, pedestrians walking along, I think that it's important to keep the safety as much as we can, and increasing the speed, people will definitely go faster. If we got to a point of, maybe we discuss where the speed limit changes down to 40 instead of Price Road, it could be somewhere else, but I'd like at least the public works staff to give it some research and come back in a report about where that would be best to adjust it. And the second one is I'm all for the speed limit of 60 km/h south of town down to the Stone Mills border. But I would like to make sure that the report contains full costing of putting new signage up, because there are a lot of intersections or enough intersections along that way that would need to be marked in order for it to be enforceable. So as long as they can
do both,
fully support it and give some detailed costing about what it will cost the township before we proceed.
Okay, Bill.
Basically, those were the comments I had in regard to the fact that there are no sidewalks in this area, and that by increasing the speed, it's probably going to make it a little more dangerous, because we all know, especially Mayor Smith, doesn't attend to the speed limit to go a little quicker. Thank you.
Just a little. Okay. Cindy.
So I brought this forward to council through you, Madam Mayor, because a lot of the people who do live in our area are concerned. For example, the 40 kilometers an hour, we have people pass down that flat before Matson's, because if you ever drove 40 kilometers an hour, it's like poking hot pokers in your eyes, okay? So that's the reason we wanted it higher. And when you go into Mountain Grove, they have no sidewalks. It's 50 going into Mountain Grove. So are we going to give them sidewalks and lower their speed too when we do this? And as far as for pricing on signs, the Long Lake Road is supposed to be going to 80, which it's 60 now. So why can't we reuse? And that would, like, for cost wise, that's going to make the cost right. And for the 60 kilometers on the far end, Henderson Road already is 60 kilometers. So it only makes sense that your North Road and your South Road would match, right? That they're both at the same kind of level of speed. And so that's why I brought it forth, because I had a lot of questions and a lot of people asking, and I would really appreciate support on my motion.
Well, we'll see what the roads guys have to say too. Philip.
I just wanted to ask if Councillor Kelsey, would she be amenable if it's not 50 through the entire village? Could you change the speed from Price Road further into the village? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's
move the 40
the part
sign.
you commented about people passing because it's
Yeah, so we could move it closer, because I think it was Almond Lane where it used to be 40 on in, so we could move it back to the way it used to be, sort of thing. But
okay, Bill, and then Susan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The 40 began going south at approximately Councillor Claggis's house. It used to be 50 right to there.
It was Almond Lane.
Oh, at one time it was further as well. So I do agree with you about the speed limits though.
Okay, well, and this is to ask the roads to look at it, right? So they can listen to this recording and hear all of our comments.
actually,
Right.
and
Oh, Susan, and then back to Cindy.
sure.
So through Madam Mayor, and I've been listening to all the comments about speeds and so forth. I don't have the expertise to say what speed it should be. I'm not as familiar. But what I'm reading from this motion is that, as you mentioned, Madam Mayor, that Public Works is going to be looking at this. They're going to say, is this appropriate or not appropriate? You're shaking your head.
Sorry.
And giving us some recommendations.
Okay. Bill's pulling out his highway traffic data.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've had new speed bylaws since 2025 and not a thing has changed.
So we need to check these roads on that bylaw, is what you're saying. And the rest. Okay. Cindy.
So actually, I spoke with the roads department too, and they're looking into having on each end of the village a flashing sign. So, you know, when your speed is too fast, danger sort of thing. And that way, probably that's more effective than just your regular speed sign. It kind of catches your attention, right? So they are looking into costing and that sort of thing also.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All those in favor of this motion? Carried. Right. Now, this is the community improvement plan. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded. No seconder. Do we need a seconder?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Philip, sorry, I didn't see your hand there, Philip. Okay. Whereas bylaw 2012-25 passed on the 14th day of August 2012, designated the village of Charlotte Lake as a community improvement project area for the purposes of preparing and implementing a community improvement plan respecting development, revitalization, and beautification of the village of Charlotte Lake. And whereas council considered it desirable to open the community improvement project area to include all hamlets within the township of Central Frontenac. Now, therefore, Council of the Township of Central Frontenac enacts the following: that the community improvement plan for redevelopment, revitalization, prosperity, and beautification includes the village of Charlotte Lake and all hamlets of the Township of Central Frontenac. And two, that staff are directed to update the bylaw and bring back to the next meeting for final passages. But we've already talked about this, right?
Mhm,
That it
yeah, so-
can't happen that quickly.
Oh.
So, Susan,
Through Madam Mayor, do we do a motion to defer this?
you can
Until-
defer it or defeat it, knowing that the other motion is going forward that are looking at exactly these two things. They're, do
Yeah.
you want to defer it?
Yes,
Oh.
please defer it until the report comes back on the
Okay.
previous motion. Please
So
and thank you.
everyone in agreement to defer? Deferred. Okay. Now we are going into closed session. So let's have a 5-minute stretch, Bill.
Yeah, great, man.
We do you got to stay here till we do a motion. The motion is moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Philip Smith. That council resolve into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss personal matters, 239(2)B, results of job postings, 2, proposed disposition of property, 239(2), proposal for consideration, and 3, information supplied in confidence by another government, 239-2H funding matter. All those in favor?